Hi there, Simon from simonwoods.com here. Now I've got 4 New Zealand sparkling wines. I think they're all from Marlborough, although the last one doesn't say on. It's going to be from that famous region of Waikakamukau, but it really doesn't say on the label. Anyway, first one, Hunters, Miru. I will hesitate from saying on the wall, but I imagine these are all Pinot Noir Chardonnay. That one's got a bit of Pinot Meunier in as well. Non-vintage. Nice, solid, toasty. It feels like there's a core, at the core of this. There's a wine that wants to be a wine rather than just like sometimes sparkling wine can be a bit fey, but it feels like the base wine here had a bit of personality. Not too much personality. I think sometimes if you get a base wine for a sparkler that's got too much flavour, then you put bubbles in and it sort of goes rah and shrieks at you. But here you've got a feeling that there's something that's solid and deep and has got stories to tell. Let's have a sniff. Yeah, there's a lovely chocolate wafer type of richness there, yeah, there are those sweets you can get, chocolate limes. It really does remind me of that, with a bit of pineapple too, some apple. It's a really lovely, fresh, ripe but restrained and crisp and very refreshing, very tasty wine. I mean, I'm not sure what sort of price is it. I think it's about 14, 15 quid. But shames virtually every champagne I can think of that you can get for, well, certainly 10 quid more even. No, maybe not 10 quid more, but £15 champagne, forget it. Buy that instead. Very tasty. Next two are from Cloudy Bay, and Pelorus is the label that they use for their sparklers. So I think the base blend is roughly similar. I think there's Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. The vintage one gets, I think, an extra year on the lees before disgorging, and so I'm not sure whether this is almost like the vintage afterwards. I mean, we've got 2006 vintage, so this will probably be based mostly on 2007, but it might have a bit of younger wine in, it might have a bit of older wine in, but it's just a non-vintage. How do you tell them apart? Well, there's the white label and there's the rather lovely silver label. And Pelorus Jack apparently was a dolphin that would guide errant sailors into through Cloudy Bay, through the Marlborough Sounds to land, and help them to avoid the rocks. Always nice to have a story behind a wine. This one feels like a fresher, lighter style. It hasn't got that chocolatey depth that was in the Hunters one. Still smells nice, but it smells like it's going to be a simpler but richer, like an MP. But then you taste it and there is a nice complex richness that comes through. Maybe it's a tad sweeter than the Hunters, and maybe that's what that impression of richness. But it's got this core of that chocolate lime. I don't know whether this is a specific Marlborough flavour that's coming through, whether it's just the style in which they've made the wines, but really tasty. Not quite as good as the Hunters, but still pretty good. Okay, next. So this is the 2006. And what you're getting here is an extra layer of yeasty richness. It feels like there's some solid pineapple, that pineapple flavour's more to the fore here. And there's even something a bit like strawberry, very, very light, fresh strawberry. And a really fascinating contrast between those two. This one feels like it's got more in-your-faceness, for want of a better term. This one feels like it's got extra yeasty layers, and whereas the first one you'd sit around with, and after half an hour or an hour you'd be thinking, okay, this one would still be going on. This would still be telling stories about Pelorus Jack and no doubt some other things. And yeah, it feels like a more refined wine, not as showy, but in the end more classy. Let's see whether I like the final one as much as the first three. So this is Morton, Blanc de Blanc, I think all Chardonnay. Yes, or sometimes Blanc de Blanc can have some other white grapes in there. Although this one says Blanc de Blanc singular, not Blanc de Blancs. Again, as I say, not sure where it comes from. It could be Marlborough, but Morton has got loads of stuff in North Ireland as well, so could be some Hawke's Bay stuff in there. But 2000, I mean, so quite a mature wine. And you're getting some of that ever so slightly cheesy maturity coming through. I don't know whether they've done a bit of malolactic on here, and it's or whether that's almost like a, well, Bollinger sometimes, maybe not as much now, but sometimes has that cheesy overtone. Again, there's something like a dusting of cocoa. And fruit flavours they've lost a bit of their freshness, but they're still bouncing around there. Red apple, a bit of pear, and yeah, again, a touch of this pineapple. Now that's lovely. That's developing that rich, savoury character that that champagne gets with age. And I happily put that in a row of champagnes, and I'm sure that no one would spot it as a New Zealand wine. It's got this lovely mixture of, again, richness and restraint, which seems to be a hallmark all across these 4 wines. And the subtlety with it. I mean, whereas the first 3, maybe I'd be happy to sip those as an aperitif. This one, I'd really like to have this with some food. It's something like some sole or some, yeah, plaice, something quite delicate and fishy, but that's still got quite a bit of character to it. I mean, it's a great quartet. I don't know why people bother spending £15 on a champagne. It usually says on the supermarket shelf, it's been reduced from £30. I don't know if you notice, in the middle of November every year, it's early January now, but in the middle of November every year, supermarkets have these offers. Well, these wines appear, and it's like a brand you've never heard of, selling for like 28 quid. And then, come the middle of December, half price! Well, it was never 28 quid in the first place. It was probably never 14 quid in the first place. If you've got that sort of money to spend on sparkling wine, these are a terrific and far tastier, better value alternative to cheap champagne. And certainly a better alternative to a lot of more expensive champagne as well. I've really enjoyed them. See you soon.